Today, we're going to talk about a really powerful, kind of counterintuitive idea in engineering that real mastery isn't always about building the next big thing. Sometimes it's about having the wisdom and, yeah, the discipline to know when to just stop. It's a skill that you don't really learn in school, but it might be the most important one you ever develop. Let's get into it.
I mean, this is it, right? This is the core of our identity. From day one, we're taught to be the creators, the problem solvers, the builders. It's our default setting. It's the muscle memory that kicks in the second we hit a roadblock.
And that training, it leads to this almost knee-jerk reaction. Something's broken? Okay, add a feature to fix it. That feature needs some support? Well, let's spin up a new service. And boom, before you even realize what's happened, you've just slapped another layer of complexity onto the whole thing, and half the time, you've made the original problem even worse.
And here it is. This is the big idea for today. What if the most senior, most impactful engineering move you can make has nothing to do with writing code? What if it's actually making a rock-solid case for doing nothing at all? What if restraint is the real superpower? So here's how we're going to break that down. First, we'll look at why we're so wired to just keep building. Then we'll get into the very real costs of that instinct. We'll talk about the just-in-case trap. We've all been there. And then we define restraint as a core skill. After that, we'll get practical, how to design systems you can actually subtract from, and the art of finishing something well.
Okay, so let's start at square one. Why is build more always our default mode? This isn't just you or me, it's baked into the culture of how the entire tech industry works and decides who's successful. The whole system pushes us to build. I mean, think about it. Promotions, bonuses, they're tied to shipping stuff, to growth, a constant stream of activity, commits, pull requests, launches. It looks like progress, even if it's just churn. All our dashboards are screaming for more users, more features, more everything. In that kind of world, hitting the brakes feels like you're admitting you failed. Because the quiet, difficult, and incredibly valuable work of saying no, that's almost never seen, and it's definitely not celebrated. And this leads to this really powerful psychological trap. When things get complicated and messy, adding one more patch or one more little feature, it gives us this temporary feeling of control, like we're doing something tangible to fight the chaos. But most of the time, it's just an illusion. And it's an illusion that comes with a seriously steep hidden price tag. So this default to always build leads to a much bigger issue, the hidden, compounding cost of adding just one more thing. These are the costs we never talk about in planning meetings, but they're the ones that slowly kill a system's health over time. And this is the absolute key. You have to get this. A new feature might add a little bit of value, like a straight line going up. But the complexity it adds doesn't just add, it multiplies. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. It interacts with everything else in the system, creating this explosion of new dependencies and new ways for things to break. Every single time you add code, you're making the surface area for attacks bigger. You're creating dozens of new failure modes that nobody thought of. You're raising the cognitive load. You're literally making it harder for every engineer to understand what the heck is going on. And the biggest one? You're creating a lifelong maintenance obligation. It's a tax the team has to pay, forever, on that one little feature. Pretty soon, you start to see the symptoms. The first sign is usually a product cluttered with features that, like, 5 people use. You know the ones? They were built for one big client or some weird edge case, and now they just sit there, gathering dust, making everything more confusing. And then it gets way more serious. The system turns into a black box. There's not a single person on the team, maybe not even the people who originally built it, who can actually hold the whole thing in their head anymore. You start getting these no-go zones in the code that everyone's afraid to touch. And it all leads to this culture of fear. Pushing to production becomes this terrifying hold-your-breath moment because nobody's really sure what's going to break this time. Deployments get slower, on-call gets more and more painful, and eventually your team's ability to get anything meaningful done just grinds to a halt. And this just says it all perfectly. We waste so much energy worrying about what we haven't built yet. But the real danger, the thing that will actually kill our systems, is the slow, crushing weight of everything we have built. The system doesn't die from starvation. It dies from obesity. So how do we talk ourselves into doing this? Well, one of the sneakiest justifications is what I call the just-in-case trap. It's that sweet, seductive promise of future flexibility. Come on, we've all been there. You've heard it, you've probably said it. Let's build this extra layer now because we're definitely going to need it later. But real engineering wisdom isn't about solving imaginary future problems. It's about solving the concrete problem you have right in front of you today.
The hard truth is we are awful at predicting the future. And when we try to build for some future we've guessed at, we lock those guesses into our code. That flexibility quickly becomes a cage that we can't escape when the future, inevitably, turns out differently. And the real kicker, that clever, flexible code you're not even using, it still costs you, right now, every single day, to test and maintain and understand it.
Okay, so this brings us to the most important mental shift we have to make. We need to stop thinking of restraint as a bad thing, like a lack of ambition. We need to start seeing it for what it is, a core senior-level engineering skill. Now look, this is not easy. It takes real courage to stand up and push back against that more is better mindset. It means you have to build trust with your leadership, so they understand you're not being lazy, you're being strategic. It means getting comfortable saying no and accepting that you have to make trade-offs. It's about being okay with shipping something that is simple and good enough. But the payoff here is huge. Restraint is what saves your system from becoming a fragile mess. But even more than that, it protects your team. A lack of restraint leads directly to burnout, to demoralizing feature graveyards and exploding technical debts. You have to remember, every single unnecessary feature is a future liability.
So if restraint is the skill, how do we create an environment where we can actually use it? Well, the answer is in how we design our systems from the very beginning. We have to design for deletion.
A truly healthy system has these qualities. It's got clear boundaries, so you can remove one piece without breaking everything else. It has built-in ways to deprecate things gracefully. It's architected for simplicity first, not for some imaginary, extensible future. And, critically, the decisions are reversible. You can turn things off. So here's a design rule to take home with you. Your system should make it easy to subtract things and hard to add things. The path of least resistance should always, always be toward making things simpler, not more complex. Make subtraction the default. Okay, but finally, even if you have the right skills and the right architecture, we have to talk about the human side of this. Because stopping is hard. It feels weird. It goes against our very identity as builders, and we have to be honest about that. Why is it so tough? Well, we call ourselves engineers, not unengineers. Deciding to stop work on something or even kill a project can feel like you're admitting defeat. It can feel like you're giving up, and it just doesn't fit with that corporate story of endless, upward growth that we're all swimming in. But we have to reframe this. There is a profound craftsmanship in ending something well. Carefully communicating a deprecation, migrating your users with respect, cleaning up the old code, that shows incredible maturity. It shows you respect the user, the system, and the next team that has to work on it. So let's bring this all home. We need to expand our idea of what engineering even is. It's not just about that heroic moment of creation. It is just as much about the quiet, disciplined, and absolutely essential art of restraint. You know, the true sign of a system's strength isn't how many features it has. The most resilient, the most valuable systems out there are the ones built by teams who knew when they had hit the peak of value and had the guts and the skill to say, this is it, this is done, this is enough. And so that leaves us with one question to take back to your team. Look at your backlog, look at your roadmap. In this world that is screaming for more, what's the most valuable thing you can do for your product, your users, and your own sanity by choosing not to build it